Hello, Lindsay. How are you today?
Excellent, Aubrey. Feeling great. Weekend is coming up. How about you? How's it going?
Excellent. I have a question. I am curious.
Yes.
What were you doing right before we started recording?
Ooh, right before we started recording, I was catching up on emails. It was 8:30 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. So starting my
That
day.
makes sense. That's kind of a boring answer, Lindsay.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of boring.
But you know what? A lot of you out there, that's probably what you were doing before you listened to this podcast, right? We're
Mm,
all responding to emails so much of
yep.
our day anymore.
I know it's amazing. It just takes over. They just come
Yeah,
in and they just never stop coming in.
right. The never ending list of emails to respond to.
What about you, Aubrey? What were you doing before we started recording today?
I did a Peloton ride right before we
Oh,
started recording.
fun.
Yes.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Every now and then they have live rides, and it's really
Mhm.
fun to do it live with the instructor. Usually it's like a pre-recorded one, but
Yes.
when I can, I try to jump on and do the live ride.
And
But the
how long
reason
was the
I
ride?
oh,
Uh-huh.
it was just a 15-minute ride.
Oh,
Sometimes
nice.
they're quite a bit longer, but sometimes they're really short, so you can squeeze them in a
Yeah,
short amount of time.
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, good. What are we getting into today?
Yeah, the reason I asked, what were you doing before you started recording?
Mhm.
For we talked about this in part 1 of this series with past progressive. We often use it for interrupted actions. So this is
Mhm.
part 2 of a series, but you can listen to this one first, stay to
Yes.
the end, and we'll share what part 1 was.
Mhm.
But these can be listened to out of order.
Yes, guys, make sure you hit the follow button right here on All Ears English so you don't miss any of these series that we do or any of our episodes. We drop 5 days a week. All
Yeah,
right?
so we often get questions from students about past progressive versus past simple. How do I
Mhm.
know whether to use that verb ing or go with past simple? And today we're talking about the main time we use past progressive is for simultaneous and interrupted actions. So you
Mm.
used past progressive there because you were answering emails when you had to jump on this call to record podcasts.
Exactly. So we have an example here. Shall I go ahead with the example?
Yeah, let's do it.
While I was making dinner, I helped my daughter with her homework.
So this is
Okay.
simultaneous actions, right? A
Yes.
mom often has to multitask as well as, everybody really, but while you're doing one thing, you
Uh-huh.
do something else.
Okay.
And here this is where we have past progressive while I was making dinner, and then the other
Mhm.
action can be past simple if it's something that was completed at a specific moment in the past.
Yes, it can be past simple as an option. It could also be past progressive too, right? While I
Exactly.
was
Both
making dinner, I
would
was
work.
helping my daughter with her homework.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. It depends on the action and if you are referring to it as a specific point in time. That's why this is really tricky grammar. It's difficult to know sometimes which to choose.
All right. What else do we have to know here, Aubrey?
All right. So we're going to dive into the two times, right? Simultaneous actions, interrupted actions. So the
Mhm.
first one, the normal construction is when I was doing something or while I was doing something, something else happened.
Okay. So for example, when I was eating breakfast, I spilled my orange juice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the breakdown of grammar here, the first part of the sentence is an adverb clause
Mhm.
describing this action and how it happened when it was interrupted. And the second part is an independent clause. This can stand alone as a sentence. So you have either while or when, the subject, and then past progressive. So that's
Mhm.
was or were with verb ing. And then the
Mhm.
next part of the sentence, subject, and then either a past simple verb or, like you pointed out, Lindsay, depending on the sentence, a past progressive again.
Love it. All right. And thinking about that construction there, here's another example. While I was fixing the car, she handed me tools and kept me company. Yeah. Love
Yeah,
that.
and this is kind of a bonus to keep someone company. I say this a
Yeah.
lot. You want me to keep you company? That means
Right.
you want me to like chat with you, kind of entertain you while you're working.
Right, exactly, or while you're doing anything, maybe you want to accompany someone to a doctor's visit, and you're actually asking, "Do you want some support?" But you're trying to lighten that and make it a little less serious. You might
Yeah.
say, "Hey, would you like me to keep you company? I'll come to the doctor's visit with you," that kinda thing,
Good
right?
point, right? And this is
Yeah.
often used. My grandmother would always say this, come over and keep me company. Would
Aw.
mean just like chat with me. Maybe we'll do a word search together, right? It's just like, let's just visit. And often, instead, we'll say, I'll keep you company or keep me company.
I love it. Is there anything we have to know about commas here when we're writing this?
Yes. So for this construction, when you have an adverb clause, like
Mhm.
when I was doing something here, you
Mhm.
always have to use a comma after it when it comes at
Okay.
the beginning of a sentence. And
Okay.
this is because an adverb clause that starts a sentence is considered an introductory element. So it requires a comma to separate it from the main clause. And the
Mm,
tricky thing is here, depending on the construction of the sentence, there won't always be a comma. So the
I see.
second one we're going to teach, there's no comma.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Introductory element sounds very fancy.
Yes, it does, right? Kind of tricky grammar. And these often
Yeah.
we will use these introductory elements when we're trying to either up level our speech or our writing. We're trying to
Mhm.
use complex sentences.
Yeah.
And so we'll often use these to transition between ideas.
Which I know a lot of our listeners are at that point in their learning. They're
Absolutely.
wanting to get more complex so that what they're saying can match what they're thinking, right? They have
Exactly. You
complex
don't want to be
thoughts.
just saying and writing simple choppy sentences when you
Yes.
have complex interesting thoughts. You want them to be dressed, gift wrapped just as fancy as your thoughts are.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why we're here. I love it. All right, let's go through number 2, Aubrey. What is the second scenario?
Yeah,
Grammar
so
construction. Yes.
right. Number 2 is,
Mhm.
something was done. I did something while something else was happening. So
Okay.
because it's flipped and the
Mhm.
adverb clause at the end, it's not introductory. There's no comma in this construction.
Okay. For example, you called me when I was shopping. Okay.
Exactly. No comma here, right? Because the adverb clause is at the end when I was
Mhm.
shopping. So the first part of these sentences is the independent clause, right? You
Mhm.
called me. That's a complete sentence. And then
Okay.
the second part is your adverb clause when I was shopping. So there we
Mm.
have the while or when subject and past progressive, which is was or were, depending on the verb, and then verb ing.
Perfect. And the second example, he got home while I was making dinner. Okay.
Exactly. So your independent clause, he got home, that could be a sentence on its own. And
Yes.
then while I was making dinner is our adverb clause, no comma in this sentence because we're not introducing the sentence. It doesn't start the sentence.
Love it. All right, Aubrey, we've gone through some pretty dense grammar here, which we love. We need this. We need the foundations, right? Let's go into a
Absolutely.
role play and see how it comes to light, comes to action. Okay.
Yeah. So you and I are classmates, and I missed class last week.
Okay.
And so let's dive in here.
All right. Where were you last week?
Oh, I went to the beach. It was amazing.
What? I was stuck in class while you were playing at the beach?
I'm sorry. Actually, though, can I get your notes?
Seriously?
I'll owe you one. When I was hanging out on the sand, I thought, I hope Lindsay is taking notes so I can get them from her.
I bet. Well, I have to miss class later this month, so be sure to take copious notes to share with me. Oh,
Nice. Did you ever have
man.
that situation where a classmate would be like, I was at the beach. Can I get your notes?
Yeah, yeah, of course. That's so fun. And then you're there taking the notes and oh
Right. It's
no.
one thing if they were sick, if they're
Yeah,
like, I was just on vacation. And you're like, here
yeah,
you go. You
yeah.
do it a little more grudgingly.
Yeah, maybe write some incorrect things. No.
You would never.
Never, never. All right. So then what did we say here? So you said I went to the beach. It was amazing, right?
Yeah.
I
And here
said,
you said, I was stuck in class while you were playing at the beach. So
mhm,
there's no comma here because our adverb clause is at the end, right? I was
yes.
stuck in class is an independent clause, could be a sentence by itself. And then while you were playing at the beach, the adverb clause is at the end. So there'll be no comma in this sentence.
Love it. And then the next thing you said, I'll owe you one. I would say I owe you one, right? I guess you're saying in the future, if you do this
I'm
for
saying
me
in
or
the
if you
future,
give
if you
me
do
your
this for me,
notes.
I'll owe you one.
Yeah,
Oh,
actually,
I'll
that
owe
makes
you
more
one.
sense. That makes more sense. Yeah, I'll owe you one. When I was hanging out in the sand, I thought, right?
Yeah, and then I
So,
narrate my thoughts. I thought, I hope Lindsay is taking good notes here. So this again, when I was hanging out on the sand, we'll have a comma after it
mhm.
because this is an introductory adverb clause. We use this to introduce the thought to start the sentence. So after that adverb clause, we have a comma, and then after that will be an independent clause, a full sentence that could stand on its own. I thought, and then everything I was thinking.
And it's important. This is not what today's episode is about, but it's important to know that we do change our tone of voice when we report our thinking, right, Aubrey?
Yes, right. That's a good point. If I just say, I thought I hope Lindsay is taking note, it would be sort of confusing.
Right,
We'll
right. No.
change our tone
Yeah.
of voice to make it clear that we're narrating our thoughts.
Yeah. So when I was hanging out in the sand, I thought, I hope Lindsay is taking notes so I can get them from her. There has to be some kind of a change in your tone there,
Yeah, it
right?
sort of becomes a little sing-songy sometimes.
A
I
little
hope
bit.
Lindsay is taking notes
Yeah, it
so
could
I
be
can
that
get them
too.
her.
It could
I
be
do
that
that
too.
sometimes.
For sure. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. What's a takeaway for today? I know this is moving our listeners closer to where they want to be, expressing complex thoughts.
Absolutely right. Past progressive, it can be difficult to know whether to use past progressive or past simple. With
Hmm.
this series, it will be a lot more clear to you which to choose, why natives choose one or the other. So definitely scroll up for part one. That was All Ears English 2360, your grammar questions answered, past simple or past progressive.
Yes. And keep in mind, guys, if you really want to dig deep into grammar, the place to go is into our courses, right? This is where you get to do exercises and practice and take quizzes and make sure you're actually learning, really going deeper. It's one step deeper than the podcast. And we do have a new course coming out soon, Professional English Level 1, where it is a review of some of these grammar points, these grammar tenses. All right. So just be
Yes.
ready for that in the next few weeks. All right.
Yes, and these
Good.
have amazing fluency activities, speaking and writing, where you have a chance to
Yes.
practice all of these so that you are ready to use all of that learning to connect in English.
All right. So good. And where else should we go, Aubrey?
Yeah, be sure to scroll up. Don't miss that part one. And
Hmm.
be sure to hit follow if you did miss it. That means you're missing amazing episodes.
Love it. I'll see you on the next episode, Aubrey. Have a good one.
Bye. See you next
All
time.
right. Bye.